So, I've made it no secret that probably my favorite Transformer in any continuity is Starscream. Starscream is by far my favorite Transformer, not just like Decepticon, but like just Transformer in general. And I know that's kind of a hot take, to say the least. That's a pretty hot take in of itself, right? To say something that controversial. But there are a few good reasons I have. And I'm not the only one who basically has proclaimed their love for Starscream. A lot of fans have a lot of love for Starscream. Even though there should be at no point he should be anyone's favorite, right? Like, it's a scientific anomaly. It's a scientific anomaly that this dude is anyone's favorite. But I have seen multiple people online, and like anytime they have basically talked about how one of, if not their favorite thing, is this shithead. So let's talk about that. Like, let's actually go over as to why I specifically like Starscream, and probably also pinpoint why other people really like the character as well. It's going to be a fascinating take on all of this, so I hope you stick around and check this out. Anyway, so let's get started. So the big thing is, let's get into the big reason why I like Starscream. I think it's a lot to do with, and I think a lot of people can pinpoint this too, everyone's early love of Transformers comes from, because a lot of people weren't born in the 80s. When you see this new age of Transformer fans, a lot of it comes from Beast Wars. But Starscream only showed up in one episode. And from there, Starscream became kind of a background character. But a lot of us, when we really got into Transformers, yes, I was a Beast Wars fan. A lot of other Transformer fans will tell you when they started getting into Transformers was Armada. And I gotta be honest, I think that's where a lot of the Starscream love comes from, is Transformers Armada. We had a more complex Starscream, where yes, he was conniving, he was ambitious, but he was also he was a way more complicated character. He was a character who was more than willing to put in like all of these efforts, but he also was basically a Cybertronian who was conflicted with the war effort. He was seeing what was becoming of Megatron / Galvatron because of Thrust's ambitions, leading to Unicron. And yes, we can all talk about his time in the Autobot stint and everyone shipping him with Alexis. I was not gonna talk about that whole thing and not mention that, because dear Lord, that was everywhere. That's still everywhere. But yeah, so the Transformers are essentially like the whole love affair with Starscream. A lot of it, I think, does take place with Armada, and from there, Starscream, from the rest of the Armada era, like the Armada series, does take a lot of out of Starscream's and make Starscream's whole storyline and makes him back into original G1 Starscream. But then came another series that I think really helped people turn themselves around on Starscream. And yes, I do know there are a lot of fans out there who say, like, I love him because he's such a conniving asshole. He's funny. And it's just like, Sisyphus with the boulder, where he just wants to, he just keeps trying to get the same thing, but with different, and the stone keeps rolling over him. That boulder being, Megatron. But yeah, so the big thing here is that the other major part was the IDW comics, where Starscream was given a lot of character, but still like his old self, where Starscream essentially was this, power-hungry Decepticon and wanted to usurp Megatron, but he failed constantly for other reasons. And then when he finally did get power, he failed at that too. Like, the Decepticons were quite literally cannibalizing each other. And then Megatron came in and beat the shit out of him, and probably one of the hardest to read Transformer books ever, where Starscream just gets his shit wrecked by Megatron, who is enjoying abusing him. And it's a really hard to read book, especially, I've seen people kind of, talk about, this gave me PTSD flashbacks to when I was domestically abused. That's a hard book to read. If you've read that Spotlight book, then you know what I'm talking about. But then we have like Starscream becoming a more complex character, especially when he became the leader of Cybertron. Yeah, there's like you think he would stop, right? You think he would really stop as a character and just enjoy winning. But no, he's still Starscream. He's trying to, like, you know, make a empire, a new Cybertronian empire from the other lost colonies. That blows up in his face, and then he starts a whole thing with the Space Knights that gets him kicked off, you know, being the leader. And yes, he does sacrifice himself to defeat Unicron at the end of the IDW era. I mean, the first generation IDW comics. But even then, he's still kind of an ass about it. But you do see him going out like a true hero at the end. So I think the other thing is people loved his conflicts with Windblade, who tried her best to, like, she was the embodiment of, I can fix him, knowing she can't fix Starscream. And there's actually, like, I can't remember which comic it is. I can't remember which comic it was, but there was definitely one comic where I can't remember if it was Windblade or Rat Trap or someone. Someone basically went to Starscream, was like, I don't know why you're doing, like, it's this new scheme to get power in a new Cybertronian empire, and they're like, I don't know why you keep doing, you won, man! You literally won, you got everything you wanted. You're now the leader of Cybertron. You know, have got the major one-up on Megatron that you always wanted. And even Optimus Prime has to answer to you. Why do you keep doing these things? These things that are just so fucking you. And he's like, because I don't know how else to be. And that encapsulates everything Starscream is like, it's almost like it's a programming in a way, where he can't help himself. He literally, in no way, shape, or form, can help who he is. He cannot stop being Starscream for one goddamn second. It's really depressing, because, like, even he knows, I want to stop, but the allure of wanting more is just too strong for me. And that's probably why I like, you know, characters like the Penguin and a few others. Like, I love that drive for ambition. I've always loved characters who have been, like, ambitious and want to take that power for themselves. It really is kind of like a power fantasy in its own right. I really do appreciate, you know, seeing that with a character, and Starscream really embodies that, where you see Starscream, you know, and you can understand why Starscream is just like, I want more, because he was slapped down so many times. He had been slapped down, cast aside, and everything that was done to him by Megatron and the war effort. You know, it was very clear that Starscream just couldn't help himself. And with good reason. He was always denied what he wanted. And the one time he did get it before he became the leader of Cybertron, he fucked it up. And it's the same reason of why when he became the leader of Cybertron in the IDW comics, he literally was like, yeah, I can't help it, I need more. Because it's almost like this desire for power is just too strong for him. And I kind of like that, where he's just this kind of self-sabotaging asshole. He's just, you know, no matter what, Starscream's gonna Starscream. And I kind of like that about him. He also, no matter what the incarnation is, he's always the most interesting character. He's always, like, Starscream, no matter what interpretation of Transformers, whether it be G1, or Armada, or Prime, or Cyberverse, he remains to be the most interesting character. He always, and I especially like in Earthspark, where they're actually talking about and addressing Megatron's millennia of abuse he had put on Starscream and how that affected him mentally. Like, it was a really cool idea to see that with that version of Starscream, and seeing that, yeah, Megatron, you did what you did. You did this. You made me this monster. And again, I do like that we're kind of addressing now that more thing of, like, Megatron's abuse on Starscream helped even shape him further. And it's also interesting to see this again in the Image books. It's really cool to see that. I do know that he was, I was spoiled as to what happened, because now, currently in the the Image books in the Energon verse, which I just did a review of the latest volume of Volume 2 of Void Rivals, if you want to check that out, just a little plug. He's now, like, the leader of the remaining Decepticons, and continues to fuck it up. So much so that Soundwave, like, usurped him. And now, I don't want to go into details as to what and again, I can't say anything because I still need to read those books. My good friend Chris, aka the Mount Vernon Kid, is sending me those comics, so I'll go more into depth. But what I've understood is that he's been found by Cobra, and they did some really horrible shit to him. So, yeah, but Starscream is a product of both Megatron, his environment, and his own ambition, and he still, like, remains one of the most, as much as we, as much as we talk about, like, he's such a bastard, you can't help but root for the guy at the same time. He's a very rootable character, even when he's just little fingering it up everywhere he goes. He still is a character you can find yourself rooting for no matter what, and still find a lot of, like, interest in him as a character. So, yeah, I can't help but root for the little bastard. Anyway, so there you go, guys. That's pretty much my reasoning for Starscream being my favorite Transformer. But you guys tell me in the comments below, where do you guys stand with Starscream? Do you guys like him, hate him? And if so, if for those reasons, like, why do you like him, why do you hate him? Comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.